Oh, I'm still feeling it. I'm still feeling it. Just under 24 hours since that night, the emotional roller coaster we as Arsenal fans went through in that 90 to more than that. It was over 100 minutes worth of football in the end. And the ultimate feeling that we have at the end in a game that we were heavily favourites and expected to win is disappointment. But there's plenty to talk about. There is plenty of topics, individuals, discussions, debates that we will have in this stream. As you can see, I am feeling the effects of it. And yeah, I'm still feeling it. It's hard not to when you feel so invested into this team, when you are, you know, the heights that this team is taking into in terms of the emotions this season, the love, the passion, the desire that this team has shown from each member, from each player. And yeah, this is one of those low moments that we're feeling right now. But we'll discuss and we'll get into it because there is plenty of negatives that that you're hearing a lot out there, but I also think there's a lot of positives to talk about as well in terms of my thoughts and feelings. But before I do, I just want to big up each and every one of you that are in here right now watching live. We've got Moss in the building, we've got Matt G in here, we've got UV in here as well. Hope you're all keeping good, people. We'll definitely talk about plenty of things. Matt G says right here, I feel dejected. It's hard to remain positive, but we have to for the team. Come on, you Gunners. And Moss agreeing with Matt G there, saying exactly. Plenty to talk about. UVT is going to be late. Now I'm here on time. Big up my bro Rich in the building too. Hope you're keeping good. And UV says, how could you let Theo Walcott score? Lol. Hey, we'll get into it. We'll get into it. But wow, what a start we had to this game. Not in a positive sense when I say what a start, but an error, basic errors simply costing us again. And the basic errors over our last three games have cost us and have been proven pivotal in us not getting the 3 points in each one. Liverpool game in isolation, we've spoken about that plenty of times, but there were individual errors that led to those goals and those moments there that brought Liverpool back into the game. And the same goes for West Ham. We spoke about that plenty on the Arsenal show. With the first West Ham goal, there was multiple errors it stemmed from. And then in the second one, again, errors again, lacking in concentration, which was ultimately the issue with the first goal, the Aaron Ramsdale. Concentration wasn't there, didn't sense and wasn't aware of his surroundings, and poor execution of the pass. To be honest, it's not just poor execution, it's poor decision making to play that ball in that situation and take that much of a risk. It would almost have to be perfect. And I've watched it back plenty of times and just don't quite understand what he was doing. I'm just trying to think. I understand what he's trying to do. He's trying to play it through the line so we can get Arsenal going in the attack from early and take two players out of the game. But with the way that those Southampton players were positioned, it was almost an impossible task to play that ball through there when he has options to his left. So no one needs to tell Ramsdale what he's done wrong there. He knows it. He's a professional footballer. And if that's a Sunday League goalkeeper making that mistake, you're going to be livid as well, and you're still going to be very upset at that. So this is why it's a basic error and it's a lacking in concentration. And there's so much talk about Arsenal bottling it and etc. But I don't think it's a bottle. I think this game, yes, we're expected to win, heavy favourites, expecting a reaction, and the result is definitely by Arsenal's making. If Arsenal don't do what they do, if Arsenal do what they're supposed to do and what we have seen consistently throughout the season, no matter who's on that pitch, you're meant to go and win that game. But that first goal, I don't think that that happened early, but it didn't really affect the stadium. And I thought the crowd at that moment, how they reacted, like we've seen plenty of occasions when Arsenal have gone down, they react and try and G up the players. The players were lifting their heads up. You could see though from that Aaron Ramsdale was affected throughout the remainder of that half, in particular with his decision making, and even his goalkeeping as well was affected. But Arsenal, we stepped up, we kept going, and I thought we actually performed quite well after that, and even after the second goal. But we'll talk about that in that situation, because we were getting into Southampton's, their final third, causing them problems, making them defend. I thought our wingers throughout the night in Saka and Martinelli were fantastic. They were our best players throughout the throughout the 90 minutes, I would say. Definitely, they were causing threats early on. They got both Southampton fullbacks on yellow cards, particularly in that first half. I thought Martinelli was driving and he had a real impact and was causing them plenty of problems on that left-hand side. Bukayo Saka had a big part to play in Arsenal's in our goal before the halving the deficit, to make it 2-1. His runs, caught running in behind Perraud, I thought real show of character and mentality there from Bukayo Saka after a poor game against West Ham, and a moment where he was at fault, for missing the penalty, and you expect him to score, but he really bounced back and he proved that winner's mentality that he does have, and that strong mentality that he has as well, which has got him to such high praise and so early on in his career for me. But then, Arsenal, we were pressing, we were getting into their final third, causing them problems. The fans, I felt when I was watching that game, I believed, that early goal hasn't affected us. But there was one issue in the back of my mind, those errors. I've seen it enough now. In 270 minutes worth of football plus, how we're falling asleep in certain occasions and scenarios. And that's where the second goal for Southampton is where I want to talk about Rob Holding, right? Because I think off the back of last night, there was, a lot of talk about Rob Holding. And I watched the game again. I've watched it again. In possession, he was arguably our best centre-back in scenarios where he was playing the ball, picking it out. His passing was much better. And we know with Rob Holding that a lot has been made with, Saliba's injury and how we defend. And I've spoken about it. And I still think that it does have that effect in how deep our line is, how disconnected we are. We're nowhere near as compact in making the spaces, in really, making it difficult for opponents to play through us and win the second balls, because we always outnumber them. And that's what not always, but that's what we've done throughout a lot of the season. And it's a part of our success. And Saliba's profile, that's what it is. It's as simple as that. Helps us to do that. But in the second goal, right, we lose the ball in midfield in that central area of the park, and Southampton are springing on us in transition. Walcott peels off to the left. You can see the back of Gabriel's shirt. He's in control of that situation. Alcaraz is driving through, and Rob Holding's there facing him. And I'm thinking of this from a defensive perspective and what a centre-back's got to do. And the question you got to ask is, how can I affect this? It's a 3-on-3 essentially, because Benjamin White is marking Adam Armstrong. If you have a look at it again, people, and Alcaraz is running through and he's behind Thomas Partey, so Thomas Partey is out of the game in this situation. But what is Rob Holding doing to affect it? And for me, in that moment, I thought he was too passive. Rob Holding, he was standing off of him. He wasn't engaging, and that is where you need to apply some pressure and not allow Alcaraz to control that situation, the time in there, because Walcott could see the back of Gabriel's shirt, and any attacker and any coach that says, any coach that says to a defender, you can't let the forward see the back of your shirt, see the number, because if they do that, they're in control of the situation. You don't know where they are. You don't know when they make a second run, the second movement, you're going to react to it. And that's what Walcott did. He made that out to in run. Gary Neville spoke about it in Coventry, and that was a brilliant goal. That second goal, I don't want to spend too much time talking about it, because yes, Rob Holding was passive and he should have engaged there, but we've seen Saliba do that. So I'm not saying if Saliba's in that specific scenario that he's gonna definitely do the right thing and engage right there, because I've seen Saliba do it against Manchester United when Marcus Rashford played up, when Eriksen played the ball through. So in that moment, I'm not going to put too much criticism on Rob Holding, but that is a part of that moment there. He's too passive. He doesn't engage with Alcaraz. And it's a wonderful ball and a brilliant finish. And that's where a head started to panic within the stadium and the crowd. And in that moment, there's been a lot of talk on this on social media about Zinchenko in that moment as he rallied them up and tried to bring them together and tried to have a conversation where there was different conversations going on. For me, I don't agree with people trying to slander or if it's rival fans bantering, I don't care. That's fine. They're going to do that. You know what I mean? That's fine because ultimately we didn't get the result that we wanted. Whereas if we did, then you look at it differently. So yeah, for me, that shows leadership and that shows that he's trying to rectify and trying to change it. He's not just hanging his head down, sulking. He's trying to make an influence and trying to make an impact on the team and trying to bring them together as they try and rectify this issue. So I don't mind that in particular in that moment from Zinchenko, and I actually quite like it. I will say that. But even then, as I said previously, in that first half, I thought we were actually attacking and playing quite well. In those moments, we were getting into their final third a lot. It was a lack of, in the final third, there was a few moments in that first half where our decision making, particularly from Fabio Vieira, who's received a lot of stick off the back of this game. And I can see why. Because with Fabio Vieira, he's not had a good first season at Arsenal. He has struggled to adapt and really take into it. He's not a starter. Arsenal, we were without Xhaka in this game due to illness. There was a lot of it happens with Xhaka. People get excited at the thought of us playing with two natural attackers because in some occasions we've seen Xhaka struggle where the game, I think it's more technically people look at Xhaka and think he's not a perfect fit in that left 8 role. But we miss him dearly so much because of his decision making with his passing. And that was what I've got to criticize Fabio Vieira for. It is his decision making in those moments. It's the decisions to cross when he should shoot and taking that extra touch and darting in behind when he should come short where there's no angle to play that pass. It's that lack of cohesion. And I'm not going to go too far into him as some people have, because I do think it is a matter of time for him. And it's his first season in the Premier League. And you always, for any signing that you make when it comes from abroad and they're coming from a different country, learning the language, not everyone can adapt to it straight away. But I'm willing to give him time. Arteta trusts him and he wants to give him time as well. So I am in that sense. But I'm talking about the impact he's making right now. He's not at this level, not at all. And there's a lot spoken about his physicality. That for me isn't really much of an issue. It was his decision making in that final third where you expect better from him. Someone who is a natural creator and a natural, in that attacking midfield position. And he had a few moments where he could have had that impact in that game, but what just wasn't quite there, not in the same wavelength with his teammates, even with his best friend Martinelli. So he was darting in behind on a few occasions where he needs to come short and show and just be patient and really probing and around Southampton. But in that first half overall, the result, we was entering the second half a 2-1 down. But I thought I was quite confident still that Arsenal could come back because of what I'm seeing and how the positions we're getting into and the chances that we're creating. Not necessarily, we weren't creating goal scoring chances, but like clear goal scoring ones that look higher in XG within that first half. But it was the air positions we were getting into was causing the fact that both fullbacks were on yellow cards. I still felt that. And then in the second half, right, Southampton make a change. They bring on Lianco, who I was very angry at in the first game, and I didn't like to see his face and his wind-up antics, but you're going to get that. That's that every team needs to have that, I think, every player which the opposition dislikes. And they changed their formation. They went to a back three. They took off their best player in Alcaraz. Carlos Alcaraz was really causing us problems in that first half. And there was one chance that from Ramsdale's spill, which he made a great reaction save from Alcaraz, hooking that shot back on goal in that. And he came off, and I thought, right, okay, I can see what Southampton are doing. There's still that threat. of us imploding and causing our own mistakes. That I know is always going to be there at the back of my mind at this stage because we've seen it upon 2 weeks in a row now. But overall, the performance, we were pinning them back in the 60th minute, pinning them back without really creating anything as much or as such. We were getting a few crosses in there. Southampton were dealing with it. This is when the frustration was starting to build because we didn't maintain what we was doing in that first half in the intensity of how hard we was pushing them. We tried to be a bit more patient. I understand it and break them down, but they were defending those situations well up until that point. And then one attack that they've had, and it was caused once again through our own mistake. And I want to talk about these. I mentioned Vieira. He was below par in terms of the level that we need and to, win the league and make sure that we were to have control of this game and control of this destiny. But in that 90 minutes, Vieira was one of them below par. He was hooked off in the 55th minute, but there was 3 other players for me, and 2 of them were involved in what led to the corner, and one even had his lack of concentration, falling asleep, affected that 3rd goal. Zinchenko and Partey, right? Partey's form has fell off a cliff since the turn of the month. I'd say since West Ham's game, it's really fell off. That West Ham game, he was poor. In moments in Liverpool, I thought he was good and he was really taking control and trying to rally us through. And there was other players that I was looking at that were below their level. But Partey in the last 2 games has struggled, and I can't quite put my finger on why. Because there is a lot of talk with Rob Holding being in there. And, I don't think it's that for me because it's his passing has been really sloppy and he's been looking fatigued, I'd say, in the middle of the park. And what my mind springs to, and this is my uneducated mind, you see, so I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments when I talk about this, is Partey's is either through injury that he's carrying and he's managing, and there was rumors circulating about that, and he's something that he may be struggling with, and we know how that really affects Partey and how it affects Arsenal when he's not in his fit, firing best. Or 2, because he's and I know he might sound mad, so please correct me if I'm wrong. He converted to Islam last year, right? And when it's Eid for those celebrating it. I hope you're having a wonderful time and hope you've had a wonderful time over this weekend. But I feel like I've seen an effect in his performances since the turn of Ramadan. And I wonder if that's affecting him and how he's able to manage it. And let me know, because I've seen other players like Mahrez, Salah, Benzema still maintain their level of performances. So I understand what people are going to say there, but for someone who's not used to it and not used to managing his physicality and his fitness and in this stage of the season, because he's been injured the past 2 seasons at this point. And I don't know, that's just what springs to mind. It's something that I'm thinking of. And I don't know, it's something, because we know how important nutrition and sleep is for these footballers and these high top professional athletes, and for someone of Thomas Partey who is physically fragile, in the Premier League and what we've seen, and we all are on tender hooks. But it seems to be a lack of concentration with him and making those silly decisions and trying to force the pass through and doing things that are out of character from Thomas Partey. And maybe I'm overlooking it, and maybe I am. Let me know, people. But I feel like that has really been an impact on Partey, and it really does affect how we do progress the ball and the turn and how we manage transitions. Is Thomas Partey? He's our most pivotal player in how we manage transitions from defense to attack and from attack to defense, in how we break down a lot of opposition's attacks. And I feel like Thomas Partey has not been anywhere near as effective and has been a hindrance of late in there. Zinchenko, I mentioned him. When he's not quite at it throughout the 90 minutes, we are nowhere near as dangerous as we can be. And if you look at the positives from Zinchenko, the first goal, he plays it through to Ødegaard, who puts it in behind, and a great ball through for Saka, crosses it in, Martinelli scores. Zinchenko is the start of that, and he starts that move by making the first line-breaking pass. And then the 2 goals, I think he's the second man that is responsible for the second goal that Southampton scored. He was out. If he's tucked inside and he's not made Alcaraz put any pressure on him. I don't know what his decision is there to wander. I think he does make the right decision by coming inside, but he hesitates and he needs to put pressure on the ball. One of them out of him and Rob Holding need to, because Alcaraz controlled that situation. And you need to try and affect that as much as you can, even if you give a free kick away. Yes or no, it's dangerous to give a free kick away against Southampton with a free kick taker like James Ward-Prowse. But you've not done anything to try and affect that situation for the second goal. And then for the third goal, he falls asleep at the back post. I've heard other people say, I don't really blame Zinchenko because, dealing with the flick on at the back post is difficult. But with how we defended then, if you have a look at it again, watch it back. I do urge you to do so, even if it's just the highlights. Where is he standing? He's standing in a very similar zone to where Bukayo Saka is. And he is a defender who's got to react. He's got to see there's one Southampton player at that back post. There is one. Why are you marking space when there's a man there? There's only one man that he's got to deal with between 2 players, him and Saka is in his zone, as you per se. And Zinchenko Chaleta Sarr has entered his zone, and that's where you have to be alive and active. That flick on, he falls asleep. And this is one thing we've got to talk about with Zinchenko, right? Is how amazing he is on the ball and how he really helps us. And he's a part of the reason why we're top of the league and 75 points at this stage into the season. Excellent player, one of our most important players this season for sure. Missed him last week heavily. I wish he was there fit and available last week because I'm sure it would have had a bigger impact on the game in the second half, and we may have been able to score. But defensively, he's fell asleep again in this moment. And you can't do that at this level. And that's what I'm saying. It's basic errors that have cost us. It's not about quality, ladies and gents. It's not a question of quality or even mentality in terms of fight, desire, and belief. Because you saw that with the 2 goals that we scored, being at 3-1 down and even creating chances and really putting pressure on that Southampton goal towards the end. Cannot question this team. And that's why I feel deflated, because before we felt apathy. We felt apathetic towards this club because there wasn't that passion and desire. There wasn't the quality that was involved. They didn't make us believe, but we certainly do believe now. And yes, that's been affected a lot by the results in the last few weeks. But I'm looking at this team in terms of its performances in periods of games and how we fight and how we try and battle. It's not a question of folding like that. It's a question of the pressure is certainly getting to them in terms of they're not able to manage certain situations and stay alert in the most dangerous positions, where that's where the attack, when the ball is in our final third, whether we're in possession of it, we're not protecting it as well. We're more hesitant when trying to play through the lines than we were earlier on in the season. And 2, when the opposition are in that final third, we're switching off at key moments and not doing the basics right, which we know we can do. Because if you look at other periods in the game, other moments where we're engaging, we're alert, and we're playing it through the lines, playing those risky passes, but being aware of our surroundings, being aware of the dangers, and our touch is on fire and it's first, and we're not being lackadaisical. We're playing the right passes through the lines, and the quality of the pass is there. And you can see with the goals that we scored, phenomenal. And the goals we scored in the last 3 games, you know what I'm saying? You score 2 goals away from home in the Premier League. You should win when you're at this level. You score 3 goals at home, and all 3 goals are deserved. And it should have been more. Should have been more for sure. That should be enough to win you points, and at least at the very least, get 7 points out of 9. But we're leaving with 3 because of that lack of moments of lapses in concentration. not a lack of fight and desire and strength as well. The reason I say strength, look at the Liverpool game, how we managed to hold on to a point, quite fortunately, in the end, but digging in and not collapsing like we have seen ourselves do at Anfield and other teams do at Anfield this season. We didn't do that. But, and then even tonight, yesterday, sorry, we fought until the last minute. We went for the very last kick when fans were already leaving the stadium, which for me, that's, there's certain circumstances, of course. Don't feel attacked if you are watching this and you were one of those fans that left the stadium. But for me, a lot of those, it's because you don't believe, that's why. And you thought you saw enough. Have you seen this Arsenal team this season? How many 90th minute winners and equalizers we scored in the last moment at the Emirates too, against a team from the South Coast? And we did that and we fought back, and that gave me hope and belief. And I felt like we could win the game in that moment. But we didn't ultimately, and there was certain decisions that were made and certain things that went on social media too, which I definitely want to talk about. But the third player that I thought wasn't quite at the level he needed to be and was below par was Gabriel Jesus. We saw the reason now Manchester City brought in Erling Haaland and were willing, in a sense, they were reluctant because they would want to keep him ideally because of the versatility that he provides and the pure quality. But the reason why they felt they needed to bring in Erling Haaland, and that's just that ruthlessness and that in the box, in that final moment, which Gabriel Jesus lacks. And he had a couple of really good chances. The one chance that stuck out was that cross from Martinelli to the back post. My word, what a ball that was, and what a player he is. What a player he is. And we don't really talk about Martinelli a lot in player of the season conversations for Arsenal, and I don't know why, because his impact and how he continues to fight, and even in the last few games, look at the impact he's had against Liverpool, our best player on the pitch, against West Ham, having the critical moments and playing that cross to the back post to Odegaard, continuing to fight, even though it wasn't his best game overall. And then yesterday, kept pursuing and kept trying. And in the second half, we didn't use him enough for my liking, but we continued and kept going. And he put that ball in, and Gabriel Jesus should score. He should score. And you saw later on in the game after that, those little moments where he can make something out of nothing. That Jogo Benito, that X factor that he has, and he can do something. And that's why he has won so many Premier Leagues, and why Pep Guardiola trusts him at this part of the season, because he can give you that something out of nothing. But when you're in that box and you need to score and sense and have that killer instinct, he lacks that. He does, unfortunately, and that's one weakness that I don't think you can really teach with Gabriel Jesus. And it's not, and he may have a season where everything he touches just goes into the back of the net, because he works really hard and he's technically amazing, and our best player. It's hard to say our best player technically, because we are a very good team and technically gifted in so many different positions. But he does give you that something else, and in those. But that's the one area that we need to see. That's what we lack with Gabriel Jesus. It's that killer instinct in that moment, and you saw it when he was trying to win penalties as well. He spent a lot more time trying to win penalties than he was trying to put that ball in the back of the net. And for me, it's confidence in those moments for Jesus that he lacks. It's confidence in that big moment where he knows he can score, because he's got the ability. Once again, it's not an issue of technical ability. We've seen him score in the last two games before this one at Anfield, at the Berlin ground, making those runs, being in that position to dart in that far back in that back post, score with his header. And he should. And it's just that confidence that Manchester City fans saw for a while. Even though they loved him, we love him. I still love him, and he could still be the reason why we win this Premier League when it's all said and done. But in that moment there, we needed him to put it in the back of the net. But what a fight back. This is where I want to come with some positives right now. I've spoken a lot about the issues and those things, but I want to talk about some positives. Is my word a lot. We need to respect Martin Odegaard's desire and his mentality. People question him and say, when he gets brought off, when Arteta makes a substitution, oh, you're taking off your captain in this moment. You know, a lot of questions there. We've seen Odegaard not be there in the big moments, etc. Excuse me, can if his goal, his reason why he shot in that moment, and in that last 10 minutes of the game, he was our best player. He was unstoppable, which is why so many fans got angry when Partey decided to shoot in that moment, because he had Odegaard to his right, who was creating everything. And he was at the heart of every attack in that final 10 minutes. Although overall, once again, I don't think it was his best night. Not everything was working for him, but he keeps persisting. And that's what you want from your attacking midfielder, your talisman, your creative player. Is you're not going to find your pass every time, but you keep going and you don't put your head down and you don't hide. He doesn't hide, Martin Odegaard. He doesn't. He always tries to put himself there and make himself available, even when he's not having his best game, and he's pressing and his energy that he provides to this team, and he scores in big moments too. And he did that in that game last night. And then following that, you know, my boy Bukayo Saka, our best player, in my opinion. Yeah, it's a good thing. It's a good debate to have who is our best player. But Bukayo Saka kept going, constant threat, and he was in there and he scored that goal. And it really felt like now it was only one team that was going to win. When you see those 8 minutes added on, wow. I just wanted to talk about the fight back from this team. They kept persisting. Partey didn't have a great game. He kept persisting, made the wrong decision in that moment, which is why a lot of fans are frustrated. But I think it's disgusting, some of the behavior that I see on social media from our fans when, you know, talking about him and his situation and doing certain things like for clout. It is literally just for the views and likes that people are doing it for. And not really taking into consideration the victim that is involved, a potential victim that could be involved. I'm saying what you're doing, and it's stupid. Yeah, it might be a joke and something like that. And to me, you don't to put a video out there of them doing that. It's disgusting. It is. Yeah, and the abuse that he's taken off the back of it is horrendous as well. For someone that has been one of our best players and definitely one of our most important players this season, he's not been good in the last few games. And criticizing for that, criticizing for not making the right decisions, for showing complacency against West Ham and last night. Do that. You can do that about his performance, but some of the things that I see is goes way too far. It does, man. On social media, it does, because yeah, with social media, you have to be. You don't, you know, when you're putting out things there in a reefer, and you're putting things out there, you put and you keep pushing the boundaries. You see incidents like Wagwan with Saka last week when he missed the penalty. You see that, and then now it's crossed the line. But you keep pushing the boundaries, people are going to keep going. And I thought that was bad from what I saw on there. But he wasn't having a good game, but he kept going and you can't question a lack of fight for Partey. You can't, or any player in this team. So that's where the hope comes in. That's where the hope settles in, guys. And we'll get into your thoughts and comments in a bit, because I can see plenty of them running through right now. But that's where the hope does still come, and there's still that fire burning. These guys do not give up, and they will get my support through thick and thin. I'm telling you that now. Yes, we're in a difficult moment. Yes, my head says we're going to Manchester City. We're not winning because we're going to concede more than 3 goals with how we're playing, and the quality that they've got right there, and the level they're at right now is ridiculous. They are the best team in the world today, and they have been for me. Even last year, they were the best team in the world for me. That's I'll say that because of what I'm seeing with my eyes and how they're performing. Not because of they didn't win the Champions League, so they're not going to do that. But overall, 2 legs against Real Madrid, they were a much better team. Moments of lacking in concentration, was the issue for them. But how they're playing and how they're performing right now, best team in the world. So my head is telling me that we're going to roll up to Man City, and this is the way we're playing right now, and we're not going to win. But we are the position that we're in now. My head wasn't telling me that, and my head still looks at it and says, wow, it doesn't quite make sense to come from where we have last season with the squad of players that we've got compared to the squads in other across the league. To be in the position that we're in to accumulated the amount of points. My head doesn't quite understand, but because I can see it I feel it with my heart, and the how hard these guys work and the quality that they have, I can see that. And what I can also see is their fight and how they never give up, and they do show, and they are fearless. They are sometimes, they are naive in fact that they don't feel any fear at all. Manchester United away, we were fearless, and we needed to control that and temper our expectations and go for a period where we just need to try and quieten the crowd, get them a little bit nervous. But no, we kept going for the jugular. They hit us, and then we learned from that. Same thing when we played Manchester City at the Emirates. We were fearless in how we approached that game, and we made mistakes, and the mistakes ultimately cost us. Yeah, and that's what you get with youthful naivety, I'd say, is that lack of fear. You make mistakes that are basic because you can get a little bit overconfident when we've all been there. We're all, whether you're young now, whether you were young back in the day. When you are young, you feel like you're on top of the world. You can say anything without any consequence. And when someone tells you not to do it, why am I not going to do it? I'm going to put my hand on that fire or that radiator, that thing hot. Oh, man, I'm burnt. Simple mistake. And it's only then you learn when, okay, how I'm going to manage how I'm not going to put my hand on that fire. And in football sense, this is what this team are going to learn. And this is why when the narrative about Arsenal aren't going to be here next season, it's their best chance of winning the league. Yes, it might be compared to where, because you don't know what's going to happen next season, who's going to rise, who might come out of do an Arsenal in that sense and really take the Premier League to the next level. And you expect Manchester City to just carry on getting better second season with Haaland, whoever they bring in, etc. But I don't doubt that this team will still be at a very high level and performing close, maybe not even necessarily as high, but I expect even higher across multiple competitions next season as we fill out our squad depth, because the age, and the age of this team, the level that they're currently at right now, I only expect them to improve. They have learned from mistakes like they did last season. We have learned from our mistakes, and we have improved from last season where we were battling for top 4. Now we're battling for a title. Our heart still has that belief and that fire with this team. I still back them, and I'm still going to support them. And whether my head tells me, right, Man City are going to go and continue to win the rest of our games and then even potentially blow us out of the park in that game. But my heart is telling me to believe in this team because of what they've done already and what the atmosphere is like around the club, and the fact that they never give up and never say die. Although it seems hard right now, I do urge those who are Arsenal fans to continue to back and support this team. Whether you think we're going to win the league or not, that's up to you. That's totally up to you, because it is what it is. Like, it doesn't look that Manchester City are the favourites. Every single person knows that now. But whether you believe Arsenal are going to win this league, it depends on how you feel about this team. And I feel a mad connection to them right now. The connection that I feel towards them, how they've really made me believe as a fan. I've got to back them. I've got to back them to the very end, even when they are down in the dumps, because I've already seen them come out of sticky situations where it doesn't look like it's going to get better. We're missing certain players with injuries. The performances weren't quite there once upon a time. It was only when did we go 3 games that I win? Was it Everton we lost to, drew to Brentford, and then lost to Manchester City? And then we bounced back in a big moment against Aston Villa. And then we went on, a 7-game winning run. And now we're 9-10 unbeaten since that defeat against Manchester City. Yes, we're coming up against a juggernaut. Yes, we're coming up against the best team in the world. But this team, they don't feel that in terms of that sense, in terms of their fearlessness. Maybe in terms of experience, they might suffer. I think my head's telling me they're saying that they will. But my heart, the reason why we love football, the reason why me and you, every single one of you that are watching here right now, we're watching afterwards, why we watch football, is because it's crazy. It is crazy. And if we watch football and we knew it was predictable, you wouldn't even bother watching it anymore if you knew what was going to happen. But we do. We do watch it because we want those unthinkable moments. I want to tap back into... I wish I was there for 1989 when we lost to Derby, when we drew to Wimbledon, and we went away to the best team in the world at that point, who were the best team in the world for 10 years at that point in Liverpool. The hardest ground to go to. Arguably today, it's still the hardest ground. And back then, it was difficult. And we had to win by 2 clear goals. I know there's still plenty of games to go. If we do go out there on Wednesday and win, that's not going to be exactly the same because that was last game of the season stuff, fairy tale stuff. But let's think about fairy tale stuff at the moment in terms of Manchester City and how they won their first Premier League and how they won their last Premier League. These title races aren't easy, especially when you're playing against teams that have everything to fight for. Southampton, there's been a lot of talk about Southampton. In the community, they're called Deadhampton and such. Not for me. They've got some decent footballers in that team. Lavia on fire. Bella Kotchap, I'd take him at Arsenal next season for sure as a backup to Saliba. Alcaraz was amazing. James Ward-Prowse seems to be their star man. Carl Walker-Peters is a decent... Trust me, these are not bad footballers. The position that they're in, bottom of the league, yes, Arsenal should win. But when there's everything to play for and everything to fight for in this Premier League, anything can happen. Anything can happen. And the same way that Southampton were written off, no chance. Going to the Emirates, absolute zero opportunity. Yes, Arsenal aren't in the greatest of form away from home, but they still won their home games recently. Move it on. They'll react. Look what happened. And Arsenal, second in the... Well, not second in the league. You think so, with how we're feeling right now. First in the league, coming up against the team that are in form at this moment in time. Who are the favourites going into that game? Manchester City. Would you say they're as big as favourites as Southampton as we were against Southampton? No, because there's not that much difference in quality. There's not that much of a difference between Arsenal and Southampton and compared to other way around. Sorry, that much of a difference between Man City and Arsenal compared to Arsenal and Southampton. So of course anything can happen, and I will back and support this team through thick and thin. But big up to each and every one of you in the place. I'm going to get through your comments right now, people. We've got plenty of you in here, and I really do appreciate you for joining me as well. I just want to see what you're saying in here. Let's go on scrolling all the way back to where we began. UV says you need to change systems. Zinchenko will get exposed just like how Southampton did. These players are losing concentration. You are losing to City at the Etihad, and you went from losing to City now win. Yeah. Okay. Okay. In terms of Zinchenko, you need to change Zinchenko. Will get exposed just like... For me, I don't think we need to... What do you mean by in terms of changing the system for Zinchenko? Do you mean putting Zinchenko in midfield? Or do you mean changing our left back and dropping Zinchenko out of the team? Because once again, I think when Arsenal are at our best, it's when Zinchenko's playing. And even in those big games, Zinchenko's played and he's been our best and one of our best players. Newcastle at home, Manchester United at home, Chelsea away, those big games, Tottenham home and away. Zinchenko was one of our best players. And And yes, it's easy. I think it's easier to say now in terms of his, he will get exposed, but I think it's more to do with a lack of concentration. And who do we currently have to play there right now? When we played against Liverpool in that 3-2 victory, we had Takehiro Tomiyasu fit. Takehiro Tomiyasu is now injured alongside Saliba, which has really affected us because we're now down to Rob Holding, who I don't think would be starting at centre back if Takehiro Tomiyasu was fit. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying Takehiro will be playing there, but could be Benjamin White, and then moving Takehiro at right back. So I don't think we can make those changes. And for me, Tierney, I saw it last week. I've seen it enough this season. We can't play with Tierney in this. He gives the ball away in so many scenarios, even in his most comfortable position. I'm sorry. Yeah, not with Tierney. Not for me there. With a high increase of goalkeepers making passing errors, should keepers go back to smashing it up the field? For me, the best teams anyway, the best teams have their goalkeepers playing out of the back. Manchester City won the Premier League for the last 5 years with Ederson. He's made errors. Alisson, with Liverpool been at such a high level recently, their goalkeepers play out the back. Even Real Madrid, Thibaut Courtois plays out the back and makes these errors. I think it's the risk versus the reward. The reward is greater than with the risk. So I think when you do kick it long and you play your percentages of getting the second ball decreases a lot. I think it's just about picking your moments better. I think in certain moments, Aaron Ramsdale goes long, and he does. And I think he does it generally quite well. He picks his moments, and he doesn't have too many where he makes these sort of errors. But I don't mind goalkeepers playing at the back at the very highest level when you've got the goalkeeper to do so. If Saliba is back versus City, then you have a chance. But if Holding starts versus City, you are getting battered. Yep, logic will tell you that. Once again, Holding against Liverpool, I don't think he was the worst player on that pitch then. I think it's a bit easy scapegoat to say about Rob Holding. And yes, he might prove us to getting wrong. And with Saliba, right, the reason why we miss him and the reason why there was this criticism of Rob Holding, I don't think it really should be aimed at Rob Holding. I just think it's the level that Saliba is at and how good he is and the profile that Rob Holding is right now. His ability wise, he's performing above, I'd say, Rob Holding. His ability right now, because of what I've seen in this passing. I never saw that with Rob Holding's passing before, but I know he can't run the channels as well as Saliba can, and how good William Saliba is and why Arsenal fans have said he's one of the best centre-backs in the league. I know it seemed mad at the time, but what I saw throughout the majority of this season, apart from the odd game or two, Saliba's immense, and the drop-off is too big, and next season we need to make sure that drop-off isn't as big. Don't use one injury as an excuse to be dropping 3 points on the bounce. It's not an excuse to say injuries though, UV, because we're missing Saliba, we're missing Tomiyasu. Those are two players that play in the same position. We missed Zinchenko against West Ham. We missed Xhaka yesterday. Xhaka's influence, once again, no one's really talking about it. You do hear it from me and how important Granit Xhaka is to this team. We missed him again. There has been multiple injuries. UV, don't let social media twist it for you and make it just think, it's only Saliba that's injured. No, Tomiyasu's injured. No, Xhaka's out. He was ill. Zinchenko was injured as well. So don't forget these things. Big up Brad saying, hello, my people. Hopefully your weekends aren't ruined. Let's try and stay positive. Big up my bro Brad right there. Rami, massive mistake, but he saves us so many times too. Exactly. That's why Moss well said, we can't jump on their backs too much for making these mistakes. You can't, and that's what we got to continue to support them. And if we don't win the league, that means we don't deserve to win the league. If Manchester City win the Premier League, they deserve to. Hands up, they were the best team out of 38 games. You move on, and they made less mistakes than we did. Simple as that. But why I'm very highly, I praise Ramsdale so much. It's because he has saved us so many times, and he has contributed to a lot of goals in terms of how he plays out of the back too, and taking those risks. So I take it, man. So yeah, in terms of Ramsdale, we lose that game at Liverpool if it weren't for Ramsdale. We lose. We don't even win. You know what? We take 3 points away. Literally take 3 points off of us against Bournemouth and Aston Villa. 6 points essentially. So yeah, I hear what you're saying there. Call it bottling or not. This is the same squad mostly that couldn't finish up with Spurs, while 4 points clear with 3 games to go. Arsenal just don't have the minerals to achieve anything. That's, do you see what they've just shown you there, Luke, is the minerals to learn and take it on. Because I'm not. This isn't the barometer, but what you've just said there is, look at the level that we've moved on from last season. Look at the level we're at from last season. So that's not true to achieve anything. I disagree with that entirely, but each to their own. Let's have a look on this here, because we've literally improved in so many aspects from last season. Do you agree? Yes, it will come down to, experience, I think, in mentality, in dealing with this Manchester City team. I think experience is key. Experience is massive in managing title races, because we've seen great Manchester United teams fail at this stage. The good Manchester United teams fail with a few games to go. We've seen many decent teams do it, Liverpool, etc. So you have to go through it, I think, to make it through the other end. Manchester City haven't won a Champions League because they couldn't deal with moments in that specific period. Do you think Manchester City are going to win the Champions League this year? I bet you do, Luke. And let me, actually, I can't say that. You probably do. If you don't, let me know. If you don't think, tell me, because what should correlate is Manchester City shouldn't win the Champions League because they don't have the minerals to. If you're keeping that same energy in that sense, that's fine. But if you say, let me know, I'll before I ramble on too much on that. Beat the beast of Manchester and we beat the best. That's all I care about. Slay the beast. Granddaddy Guna says, Mr. 200, I think too many of our players forgot about the football that got us into the position in the league that we are in. Absolutely, in moments where we aren't doing the things that we're meant to be doing, the basics, Mr. 200, the things that are supposed to be second nature for us. And that's where you could say pressure's getting to them in that situation. So I do think you're right in your statement there. Everyone can notice why Moss spoke for years, why Saliba will be the best, and he makes such a difference on how you approach and deal with everything in a match. Absolutely agree with you there, Moss. I absolutely do. Is the level that he's at and the profile he has in terms of his stature, his athleticism, his composure, and how he reads and how he defends and the ability he has, he could be a generational defender for sure. That's so true. And that's why I think when he's out the team, there is a big drop off in how we defend and how solid we look, because we don't look solid anymore. Big up my brother, ends in the place. Luke says it's going to be a battering on Wednesday. Arsenal right for one, low on confidence, conceding 2 to 3 goals per game against average opposition. 6-1 City in this one there. Vieira will still be special. I don't care what anyone says, but I would have played Alexander Zinchenko, like I've said so much, and KT. What I will say is though, KT, when he has played, even in his natural position, he hasn't been good enough. I look at the I don't know if you're going to do it, Moss, but I'd recommend you to watch that West Ham game and look how many times he gave the ball away. Not in the Zinchenko role, out on that left, out on the touchline where he's meant to be so important. Where he's meant to be more comfortable. Sorry, but yeah, if not, I agree with this part though. Go either ESR or Trossard. For me, Trossard, when he came on, Moss, absolute mate. What a signing Leandro Trossard has been. He is a next level. His calmness, his composure, his, as people say, bottle. Remains calm and takes that extra touch when he needs to and just slows it down. And that pass he played for through the legs of James Ward-Prowse was amazing. I couldn't believe it. Sensational stuff. What a footballer Leandro Trossard is. What a player. I just want to give him praise for his contribution off the bench yesterday. I think he's got to start. I think Oh, it's hard, man. How do you start Trossard when Xhaka comes back? How do you do that? He deserves to. He does, man. I think now there is no pressure on this team as it's out of our hands. I will now just be able to sit back and hopefully enjoy the football and let the season play out. Do you see what it is still in our hands, especially because we got to play Man City, and if we don't win at Man City, it's out of our hands. And then they're the ones who are in control of their destiny in that sense. But we need to go back to our players and us as fans is trying to enjoy the football, because the football we're playing at times, even in these games where we've dropped points, has been it's scintillating. Look at some of the goals that we've scored. How many goals have we scored in our last 3 games? We scored 2, 4, 7 goals in our last 3 games. And look at the goals. Look at the quality of these goals that we've scored. We just can't enjoy it because we're always worried about what we may do at the other end. And when I mean the other end, the mistakes that we make. We're not conceding. We're not getting played off the park, right, by opposition teams. We're not. We're creating we're the makers of our own downfall. That's why it is incredibly annoying. Even against Manchester City at the Emirates, we were the makers of our own downfall there, which is why it is hard to see us going on to win the league right now. But I hear what you're saying, man. I do indeed. By the way, Fabio Vieira cost Arsenal 40 million. Yeah, wasted. I don't you see. Nah, UV. You can't do the wasted thing. Look at Fabinho in his first season at Liverpool. No, it's way too reactionary. Do not do it. It's not a waste. You'll see how. Look at Jack Grealish right now. Oh, let me repeat this. Jack Grealish was a waste of money to a lot of people last season. Look at the influence he has on this Manchester City team now. Give it time. We will make your judgments at least after a season. We'll give it time. He struggled with injury to begin with in his preseason. He didn't even get to have a preseason because of an ankle injury. It's hard to break into this Arsenal team now with the level that we've performed at. Give him time. Yes, he was poor yesterday, but he's made one start in how many? You need to give players time. We got Rich in here right now, yeah. Look at Ebere Eze now. Yeah, look at him now compared to how he was a year ago for the whole year before that point. He was poor, but look at the level he's at. He's probably one of the best players in the league right now on form. So, UV, it's not a waste of money just yet. Trust me. That you make your judgments afterwards. It's not always cut and dry. First season, not your waste. Move on. It's not how football works, man. It's not how football works. Salah got dropped out of Chelsea, De Bruyne, etc. They weren't given time. Move. You know what I'm saying? Look at the rest is history now. Calma. But Rich says in here, it happened with Partey last year too during Ramadan. Something he's definitely not used to yet. I'm glad that you understand, man. And I agree with you there. I don't think he is used to it. TP, like so many of our players at the moment, not putting in full focus 90 minutes. Absolutely must. Absolutely. By the way, prayers for our King. What's up? What's happened with King? Let me know, people. Let me know. Big up Wedsbird in the place. Says, hi, Mr. T and everyone in the chat. Sorry, a bit late, but driving home. Big up yourself. Let me see. Zinni, not a defender. He a midfielder. White on third. He's Gabriel, no man's land. And Rob Holding, not jumping. So on the goal, the bad dead ball having set up at the front post and little guys at the back post. Listen, Zinchenko is actually really good in the air, right? If he you just got to make it as difficult as possible when you're defending in those situations. It's a zone for a reason. The players are in specific zones for a reason, trust me. But if you're not touch tight to your defender at the back post, then you've got absolutely no chance of affecting that situation. Moss, we know that. I'm sure you've come up against strikers that are taller than you and that have peeled off towards you. But how have you got to defend them when they've peeled off towards you? Because you can't always have your biggest man up against the opposition's biggest man. You've got to lean on them, put pressure, get physical, get tight, try and affect their run, their movement, And Zinni had absolutely zero effect on that there because he was ball watching. He watched that ball. He watched that ball get flicked on instead of stay alert with the movement of his man. It's not great movement from Chaleta. He's not great movement. He's jogged into that position, and that's where Zinchenko's got to be alive and awake. And that's it's poor concentration. King is okay. Oh my words. Oh my word. I need to chat to him. Yeah, for sure. I couldn't imagine leaving the ground early, support the team. Exactly that, Matt G. Exactly that. Jesus was trying too hard and it looked forced. I agree, Wesbird. I agree. That is horrendous news. Guys, send out your best wishes for King. Yo, oh my word. I hope that he's all good and keeping well. I will send out love for him too. I'm not surprised that we have drop points at the period. I think it was a possibility that the pressure and the injuries to key players may accumulate. Sorry, guys. I just want to say massive love out and prayers out for King. If you are watching this, my bro, I will keep you in my prayers. And man, I need to speak to you shortly after this stream. Injuries to our key players may have accumulated and drop in form. Absolutely. There's a few factors. There is a few factors, and I think Westbird's hit the nail on the head right there. The team, regardless of the final result to the season, has done phenomenally. I'm excited to see where we can get to. Absolutely, as well. I think you are right in that there. Big up to each and every one of you people in the place. Hope you're all keeping good and well. I'm just going to scroll down because I've got so many comments to get through. Big up Vibes. Big up G Staffy in the place too. Hope you're all keeping good. G Wills says, I think the inverted left back approach is hurting us. Losing most goals from our left flank lately. G Wills, I think, yeah, you are right in a sense. We are losing more goals from the left flank, but I don't think it's from the inverted left back approach. I think it's more to do with, Zinchenko up against Trent Alexander-Arnold when we conceded that second goal there. That was from the left flank. Well, even the first goal was when was it Zinchenko? No, Gabriel fell asleep at the back post there, and then. Yeah, I don't think it's the inverted role because it's not when the space, they're not attacking it when the space is there when we are in inverted positions, if you know what I mean, G Wills. So it's not like Zinchenko getting caught in the middle of the park. They're going down the right and smashing it in from the right in that sense. It's more to do with how we're not being alert, how Zinchenko himself is not being alert to the danger behind him. And where Benjamin White is much better at doing so, he's making sure I know my runners at this back post. I'm staying alive and alert. Tierney struggles with the same thing. I don't think it's inverted. I just think it's personnel at that moment who aren't being as alert. Because the inverted left back, G Wills, is the reason why we're here. Is the reason why we are here, because we're able to dominate the possession in midfield. We're able to break through the lines. We're able to create so many attacks through the likes of Zinchenko. And honestly, we don't do that if we play with a conventional back four. With this current team, I think Arteta is getting the absolute best out of this team right now. But let me see. But that's just my thoughts and opinions. I may be wrong. Let me know. I think it's time to dissect and do the autopsy on how the team, when the season is finished and not now. Absolutely agree with you there. It's just the things that I've noticed in this game, but I definitely agree. I think Trossard can play anywhere for sure. Trossard could play in that Xhaka spot. Yep, that's what I was mentioning. He could play there. I'm not sure if I'd do it against Man City. Do you know why, Moss? Do you know why I wouldn't do it against Man City? Because Man City will play it direct, right? And we're losing too many second balls at this moment in time. Our second ball, how we're handling second balls is atrocious. And I think it's more to do with how deep we are. That's why. I think the reason we're losing a lot of second balls is because we're not as compact anymore. We don't condense the pitch as much because we're having to drop back because of Rob Holding's lack of athleticism. That's why we are deeper. It's statistically proven. I think we're 5 yards deeper. It is, because we was 39. We was up the pitch and squeezing the pitch to making it within a 39-yard space. But now it's 44. So that's 5 yards deeper. We've dropped back. and we're further away from our midfielders. Our attack is to our defense. We are losing that compactness while we're losing second balls. There's more space for teams to play around us and go long. That's where we're struggling with it. So that's why I wouldn't play Trossard there in that game, because we need to make sure we have some defensive presence in that midfield to make sure we can mop up those second balls against the physical Manchester City side. Jack Grealish is very strong and physical. Haaland, of course. Rodri, Gundogan is even there too. So yeah, we need to make sure we're alive and alert. But Trossard will definitely get some minutes in, I think, in that position as well. It's really proven something. Scored 7, conceded 7. That's nuts. Exactly. It's true, man. And about literally 6 of those goals we conceded are horrendous mistakes. Are mistakes that if Southampton made, they would be disappointed with, let alone Arsenal top of the league. Let's put it all into perspective. Last season, we were 24 points behind City, and this season we are still top with 6 games to go. With the young, you know what? This goes to the people that say that we have absolutely no minerals. And Luke, my bro, I got love and respect for you, but with this, I think Westbird's hit it nail on the head. There is a massive improvement, right? There is a massive improvement. It's not even really come off of a huge drop off from Man City, because how many points can Man City still achieve? Something like 90 plus, can't they? How many points? They can still get what, the same amount of points they finished on last season. So we've actually fully caught up with them in that sense. So that's where Westbird, massive credit to this team, and that's why we believe. We didn't see this. Did you see this, Westbird? Moss, I'm not even Moss. I know you, and Moss and Will for definite TBGs in terms of how positive they see. But you didn't see us accruing this amount of points at this stage of the season and being in a title race before a ball was kicked based on last season. So absolutely, hot take alert. Mikel should go back to Martinelli, Trossard, and Saka. You know what? Yesterday that would have worked better than Jesus, because Jesus just wasn't on it. But nah, man, you gotta play Jesus in your big games, man. You have to, especially. I think we're gonna need to get a physical centre back. I mean, a physical striker up against these and Jesus. But I hear it, and I got time for it, because yesterday I think it would have worked better if Trossard's in and around, not trying to win a penalty every second. It's an interesting one. Let me know your thoughts, guys, because I think we still keep Jesus up there, up against his former club. Point to prove. I think he will have something. Big up Mohammed in here, says, hi Tariq, we cannot win the title with this defense weakness. Absolutely agree. Only 3 clean sheets at home, considering goals after conceding goals after 7 seconds and 30 seconds. Not good enough. We must improve. Absolutely agree with you, Mohammed, as well. Defensively, if we are going to win this league, we're going to need to see a massive improvement in the next few weeks in terms of how we defend. Going forward, ain't the question. This is where I'd say, yeah, Brad, I don't think we need to make that change, because our issue isn't going forward. We score, like, if you score 3 goals at home in the Premier League, Brad, I'm bearing in mind, missed plenty of chances, but you still score 3, you got to win. If you score 2 goals away from home in consecutive games, you 1 draw somewhere, yeah, you can take 1 draw, but you should be getting 4 points out of 6 away from home if you're scoring 2 goals each game. So yeah, I hear that. City have bottled it in the Champions League, and if they do so, I'll call them again. But do you think, though, Luke, that they will bottle it this year? Do you think they will? Let me know, Luke. Do you think they will bottle it again this year? Let me know. Let me see what we're saying. I got a few more to take, guys, and I got to run. Holding is as good as the back, as Mr. T always says. Not athletic enough to recover, so we are being exposed with the space between midfield and defense. Absolutely, Westbird. Trust me, I've watched so many our games in so many periods now. I've probably watched our last 3 games more than 10 times. More than 10 times our last 3 games altogether. I've watched the Liverpool game 4 times. I know that in particular. I watched the Southampton game last night. I've already rewatched it twice to look at the errors in those moments. And the West Ham game, I only watched it twice as well. Only the twice. So yeah, not quite 10, but nearly there. Now, have a good one. No worries. Much love to you as well. We're wrapping it up soon as well. Yeah, Nav, I'll message you in Discord, my bro, about it. I will message you in Discord later on. This is hindsight. This is not hindsight; it's foresight. How could Arteta start Vieira over Trossard, who's always assisting and scoring? What has Vieira done in previous? I think you're right, G Wells. No, I think this is where you are. You have got a point right there. Is you've got to try. You have to play the man that's in form, that's really performing at this level and in this league consistently. I don't think it was the right decision from Arteta to start Vieira in this game. And I do think it's foresight to say so. I do agree. I was talking to my sister, who I watched this game with, an hour before the game. I don't like that we're missing Granit Xhaka and that Vieira's in there. Because if the game gets sticky, you're looking at him. You're looking at him. Do you know what, G Wells? Having said that as well, I wouldn't have brought on Fabio Vieira for Xhaka when he was sick against Wolves. When I say sick, and not in terms of how good he was playing, but when he was ill against Wolves. And Fabio Vieira had a key part in that goal, definitely. Plays Jesus in his 9 position 100%. Agreeing with you there, Mr. 200. In my opinion, the boys need their manager now more than ever. I think in certain games, Arteta has to let defenders defend. No inverted biz. It's our defense that has letting us down at the moment. I think Arteta does need to make a change. Whether what that change will be, I don't know. I'm sorry. Well, what I think that change should be, right, is what I think the change should be is I would play both, either both Zinchenko and Tierney, which is a risk because you're playing 2 of our injury-prone left backs, or I'm dropping Xhaka deeper making a double pivot and really supporting our build-up play there. And I would rather see, and that would mean that I think Martinelli's performances would drop a little bit, but I think the stability that we would gain would be worth it. I think we might score less goals, but I think we'd win more games 1-0 and 2-1 in those situations. I don't think we'd create as much and we'd have more emphasis on finishing in that final third, but I think it would give us more stability. So I would go back to a double pivot, really helping us instead of stabilizing our build-ups and our attacks and our transitions as we have a player deeper in there. And then we let Zinchenko, I think he's still letting bomb forward, get it in and around Martinelli. But then if Zinchenko's caught out in that position, then you can drop Xhaka in there. And I know we don't want to see Xhaka dropping in at left back too often. But then you see Xhaka in and around, and then at least we've got more numbers in and around there. That's what I think. Oh, absolutely agree. Our problem is not going forward. I just personally think that the team is overall plays better with Martinelli, Trossard, Saka. Defense is a whole different story. Okay, interesting. I think we play better when Jesus is firing and we create more chances with Jesus. But I think the level, if Jesus is not available, I'd definitely go Martinelli, Trossard, Saka. Saliba, we're missing him more than we think. So, yeah, exactly. I don't know yet, Tariq. They could lose to Real Madrid without bottling in it. I didn't say before these running games that we were going to bottle in it. I actually backed us to win all 3, but they let me down. I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying because it's the moments bottled. We'll find out if we have bottled it at the end of the season, because we can still win the league. Okay, so. If it's one of them, I think you think that Man City are going to win the league, and I think that's what's going to be the case. But if Man City don't win the league, have Man City bottled it? Now, do you get me? So I'm saying this Premier League is difficult, right? If Man City win 14 out of their last 14 games of the season, that's ridiculous. That's unseen. That's unheard of, right? Since the Centurions in Manchester City being that. However, if Man City don't win the league, win the Champions League, I don't think it's necessarily bottling it either. I just think it's experience they're coming up against. I think when they're coming against seasoned professionals who've been there, done that, know exactly how to do it, I think that's where you're relying on your opponents to show weakness in that sense, because Manchester City are experienced in managing these situations. So I've got a few more to go through, people. Um, let's go through. I like both. I like both of these ideas. I like both of these ideas. T. I personally think KT needs to play more. How about Jorginho with Partey as a double pivot? Maybe. Hey, now we're talking. Now we are talking. I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind that at all. I think that would really help us in terms of our progression in midfield as well. I like the way you're thinking. The only issue I have is Jorginho is worse than Xhaka in transition defensively. He does get exposed a little bit more in transition than Xhaka. None of them are both athletic, which is why Grandaddy Guna, I think that's why we're so interested in getting Declan Rice and Moises Caicedo, because they will both help us massively in transition and in terms of squad depth as well. How they can cover the ground, how well they can progress the ball. They are the perfect profile in Caicedo and Rice. I think Zinni in midfield and Tierney playing at the original left back would solve our problems. Yeah, so that was the first one that I was thinking of. I can see that. I can see that. And just let Tierney defend and try and stabilize us a little bit more. I can hear you in there. I hear that. And have him, that Zinni is like the double pivot. I like that thinking. I like that. Last question, T. Where is ESR and what do you think about the whole situation with him? Oh, man, this ESR thing, we're going to have to do it on we have to go into much more detail on Monday, but I'm going to say this right now. Yeah, I'm going to say it. Oh, I don't know. I think I think we might move on from ESR. I think this now. Oh, I might be wrong, but I can't see ESR having a future, and with how he's been much sparingly used. I hear people trying to draw comparisons with Martinelli and how we managed that situation. But when we're starting, Fabio Vieira, Nelson's coming on, whose contract's running up, over ESR, who's back fit, and he's being back fit for time, and he's not getting any minutes at all. And we're interested in signing two midfielders, and we've also got the likes of Charlie Patino to come back, and we're trying to break through like the players like Miles Lewis Skelly. I don't think he's got a future here. I think Arsenal might try and cash in on him, but we'll go into much more detail on that on the next show. I'm sorry. I genuinely feel that way. I feel like we will move on from ESR, and it hurts me because he's a Haaland boy and he's got magic in his boots. But the main reason, apart from other tactical reasons, which I'll go into on Monday, is injuries. It's availability. I think those are big issues with ESR, and I think the Arteta and the fitness and the doctors know something more than we do about ESR and his injuries. I think that's what it is, and that might be sound like conspiracy, but it might be it might be making up things or trying to look things too deep. I'm doing 2 + 2 = 5 type business, but no, I think when you look at the facts, the cold hard truth. He's not been here enough. He's getting injuries like this at such a young age. I just don't think you can rely on him. G Wills, final comment, and then we'll wrap up. City is a deadly team and capable of destroying any team. What I'm angry about is we don't play City every week, yet we've lost all those points. Not good. G Wills, we're going to have a miracle, aren't we? We're going to have a miracle right now where we come up against Manchester City and we get something from that game. If we are going to win the Premier League, G Wills, you have to get something against your rivals. You cannot let your rivals get 6 points off you in the Premier League and win the league. And do you know what's mad, G Wills? The same teams that we've dropped these points to this season in the last 3 games against Liverpool, Southampton, and West Ham were the same teams that Man City dropped points to last season as well. But what did they do? They didn't let Liverpool beat them. They didn't let Liverpool get 3 points over them. If Liverpool got 3 points over them, Liverpool win the league. And Man City don't. But Man City made sure those games, they didn't let Liverpool beat them. We've already lost to Manchester City, but we're going to need, I'm saying it now, we're going to win this Premier League ever, at any point. Let's not forget, Man City will be just as strong next season, I believe, if not stronger. And if we were going to win the league next season, we're going to have to beat them. at least once, at least. I think. Or if you don't beat them, you don't lose. Simple as that. So yeah, if we are going to get to that level at any point, whether it's this season, next season, 2 seasons, whoever you're up against in that title race, you don't lose at all, or you beat them at least once. But yeah, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. What? I bet it's the last one. Caicedo on rice sounds like something you'd order at a restaurant. Forgive the set spelling. And you know what? G Wills, you caught me. I keep saying last one. Tariq, can we beat City? Can we beat City? Yes, we can. Clip it whatever you want. Yes, we can beat City. Will we beat City? I don't know. But we definitely can beat City. If Brentford can beat City, we can. I'm saying that. If who else? Tottenham can beat City, we can. We can beat City. And I believe. I do, man. But guys, I'm going to wrap it up here. I'm going to love and leave you. Really appreciate you all for taking this time and joining me for this. That's what I love to hear. Bless up each and every time. I really do appreciate you. I'm going to love and leave you. Arsenal pick up 3 points out of 9. But let's see what we can do. We'll see what we can do on Wednesday. We'll talk more about Wednesday on Monday night, people. So yeah, just to let you know, Monday night it won't be the Arsenal show. I did say that, Brad, but yeah, Monday we're going to do the Premier League preview show for the upcoming Premier League fixtures for midweek, including the Man City Arsenal game. And Tuesday we'll do a big preview into that massive game on Tuesday, the Arsenal show. I want as many of you involved, and I'm going to make it a call-in show. So guys, make sure you if you're free Tuesday evening, same time, 7:30, make sure you're available. Get your microphones, everything ready. I want to hear your opinions. If you can't join, leave us a comment. Leave me a video as well in the Discord. Join the Discord server. So I want to hear your thoughts and opinions as we get closer to that game. But guys, love and leave you. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We're out and peace.